It's not even close. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I come in here wounded today. I was sitting over here as Dr. Coffell was talking about me, and I don't know if I can live up to it. The place that I work, Cedar Recovery, we wanted to take a medication-assisted treatment clinic into a rural area in Tennessee. It's the second worst area in our state outside of Northeast Tennessee, where I'm from. We're the second worst state in the United States for overdose deaths right now. Two of our metropolitan areas, Davidson County, which is Nashville, Shelby County, which is Memphis, are in the top 10 for overdose death rates in the United States. We have a serious issue, and it's a rural issue, a huge rural issue. So we wanted to take the clinic there, we wanted to hold a town hall and explain to people what we do and how we want to help in their community. And I was born in 1967, so I guess I was born into the Jim Crow South. I don't remember much of it, mainly because of my father raising me. But imagine what I experienced last Tuesday night was about as close to the Jim Crow South as I'll ever be. I was threatened, I was yelled at, I was screamed at, I was called evil. We don't want, quote, these people coming in to our little community. And they were all led by 3 pastors, believe it or not. And they told me what I was seeing was not stigma. They told me what I was seeing was passion. Well, you can name a pile of crap a rose, it is still a pile of crap. And that's what I was seeing that night. And it wounded me. I realized part of that's my ego. But what I really felt bad about were the threats, the personal threats. They threatened to burn the building down that we wanted to buy. And the long and short of it is that we couldn't put our staff at risk to go there. And we knew that. I don't mind going there. I'd build it in their front yard and operate it myself. I got no problem with that. But I can't ask my staff to do that. And so the long and short of it is that we had to pull out, and my phone has been blowing up over the last 3 or 4 days from people that live in that community. 1, apologizing for the behavior, and 2, telling me that they had benefited from medication in their own recoveries, and if it wasn't for that, they would be dead. And guys, we got to remember, when we throw things out there like that, and we stigmatize what we do in behavioral health and mental health issues, there are people out there that need help that won't step into the process because they're scared of being stigmatized from it. And guys, it has worn me out. It has worn me out, and I wanted to get that off my chest this morning so you know where I'm starting from. I promise I'll get better. So I want to address the dope sick thing before I get into my talk. So it was a really neat thing to get to do. My friend Beth Macy wrote a New York Times bestseller called Dope Sick. She's an investigative reporter from Roanoke, Virginia. And I met her when she was writing that book. We became friends. My picture's actually in there. She said she found me because she was out there and all she saw was despair. And she kept asking people, is there any hope out there? And she said, your name came up a bunch. And so that's how I met Beth, and I'm glad my name came up with hope because that's what I want to bring here today. Because there is another side to addiction, okay? It is called recovery. And there's a lot of people living in recovery. There's more people living in active recovery right now in the United States than there are active addiction. But it's not celebrated for a lot of different reasons. So Beth's book goes on and becomes a New York Times bestseller. She calls me up a couple of years later. She goes, hey, Steve, she said, they want to make my book into a Hulu series. And my first question was what? What is Hulu? And so I didn't know what Hulu was. And she said, it's like Netflix. I said, okay, I get it. And she said, we're going to rotate it around a fictional doctor. It hadn't been cast yet. And we're going to we would like to use you to help us with some of the scenarios we put our doctor in who develops his own addiction. I said, sure, I've got experience with that. And so we started meeting. This was during the pandemic. The writers were all out in California, Danny Strong, the producer, and the other writers, and then Beth was in Roanoke, and I was where I live in Nashville. And the first thing I noticed is that the writers were all about 15 years old. It was past their bedtime some of the nights when we finished. It was unbelievable. But we kept going through scenario after scenario that weren't realistic. And finally, Danny Strong said, Steve, why don't we just use your stories? I said, well, the main reason is I'm going to take those to my grave. And I thought about it for about 5 seconds. What if you had a disease you never saw anybody get better from? What would that be like? You didn't have any hope. You didn't know that there was a way to come out on the other end and not have to live in the shadows. Because of what I do, I have MD after my name. I was a doctor whenever I had my addiction issues. I decided I wasn't going to live in the shadows. I wasn't going to remain anonymous. I was going to live out in the open. And I've done that my entire recovery now for a little over 19 years. And so that is where the stories in Dope Sick came from. There's very little Hollywood in it, in case you're curious. From episode 3 on, the Michael Keaton character is actually me. I tell people all the time, he was a hack before he got a hold of my role, and I shot him started. That man wasn't that big a deal. So, but I thought he did a great job with it. And the series actually won 2 Emmys. 2 things that didn't happen in real life. One is because of the grace of God and a lot of really, really good people around me, I haven't relapsed. And the second thing is I never bought a school bus. For those of you who've seen the series, I should have, as many people as I've carried to treatment, but I never bought a school bus. So that's a little bit of the story behind Dope Sick, and I'm going to show you the power of it. Best book was a New York Times bestseller. I think it sold about 500,000 copies and counting. Pretty good. You know how many people sing Dope Sick? 20 million. There's 20 million people sing Dope Sick. And I can't tell you how many doors that opens for folks when they realize I was connected to it. Patients that I have whose parents have decided it's okay for them to come and see me because they saw that. So media plays a huge role in this, and it opens doors for folks. So what I want to do for you today is talk about a potential opioid debate model. I'm going to tell you how I came to this conclusion. I'm not the only person. There's other people that have come to this as well. But guys, we have to tie our system of care together. We need a system of care that no matter where you touch the system, you get the treatment that's right for you. And I can tell you right now that doesn't happen.